Okay, so for the past few days, I've been learning how to use tarot cards from a program that I've currently gotten really interested in. This guy named E.A. Coetting. Sounds like he really knows what he's doing. He's currently in the process of making many different programs. Um, the two that he's completed are based around divination and evocation. Divination being reading the future, learning about current situations, and etc. Anything, and he goes from basic muscle testing to clairvoyancy, tarot, runes, etc., all the way up to the point where he goes from one step to the next to the next to the next until you're to the point where you can know something just by thinking about it. I'm currently in the step of clairvoyancy. The only thing I've learning that uh, portion is tarot cards. I want to get through to runes. I think tarot and runes are the only things I'm really going to pursue in clairvoyancy. Tarot because I've always had a very high interest in it, and runes because, based on what he's said about them, they are extremely intense once you get used to them, used to reading them. Very intense. So I've already done two readings for myself. The first was basically known as the expanded Celtic Cross layout, and it talked about. Oh God, I wish I had started this sooner. It talked about how I would eventually the bottom line, if I read it correctly, which, considering it was my first reading, it can go either ways, but I think I did a pretty good job. It talked about how there was an obstruction in my system, either most likely emotional. The Cups came up a lot, particularly the Queen of Cups was always at the end of the journey for every reading I've done. The Queen of Cups is always at the end. It's the highest position of emotional control. That is where I'm headed. I will have complete emotional control. The first reading I did told me that right now there is an interference, and like I said, if I'm reading it right, that interference is a very strong emotional interference, most likely the dark interference that was mentioned by Gary and by Michael Shane, and I need to deal with that before I can move on. So the second reading I did was the inverted Celtic Cross. It showed the past influence, current influence, two paths I can take, and the so-called weapon that I need to use in order to move forward. The situation I was in, I can't remember exactly, but the influences, or the past influence, I went through a massive change, a massive change. It was the two of swords, I think, maybe. I'm not sure, but it was the card of change, and or maybe it was discs, but I can't remember exactly. But what it was telling me, it was I had gone through a massive change, and it immensely changed the situation for this issue. The change dealt partially with the tarot reading that Gary gave me, and with Michael Shane, the information they gave me drastically changed the current situation for where I'm at with this issue. I know now what I need to do. Well, what I need to deal with. So the two paths that this second reading gave me were: I can go to Michael Shane and get the past life, what was the word? That past life dealio that he does. That would adjust my situation to a point where it wouldn't affect me as much, and I would be able to start moving forward. The other path, I go back to Peru. I stay there for the amount of time that I've chosen, which is about a little over a month. My current idea of it, I went and went through some calculations on about how much this trip would cost me, and ironically, it would, including if all went well and I got a job and I was making about $30 an hour, 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. Even if I moved in with Sierra and had to take on all the expenses that have been dealt with by my parents or my other means, I would still be able to make enough money for the trip in about 4 months. And if I went on that trip, but the weapon, by the way, was the chariot. It was movement. Get things moving. It can mean to get things moving, or that things are moving. But in my situation, from my perspective, it was saying, I need to go somewhere. I'm not in the right place right now to deal with this problem. I'm currently working, well, actually, that's the next reading. But anyway, so yeah, and that choice was the Queen of Cups again. I would end up in full control of all my emotions. Total, absolute control. To give you a perspective, the one below that is the Knight of Cups. He basically has a talent for whatever he's striving for, and just with minimal effort, he has a talent for getting through emotional issues. The Queen is in full control, and that's where I'm headed with that choice. So I think I'll just wait it out, and rather than try effortless in vain to get a hold of Michael Shane again. I'm going to just wait it out, get things into the right situation, and go back to Peru. So the third layout I did was the straight arrow, and here it is, the straight arrow layout. So current situation, progress shown here, and then these are my two paths. So the way I read it, I'm currently, it's the 4 of Discs power. I'm currently working to get into a stronger situation of financial situation, more influential, more independent, so I can go and do what I want. Once I'm in that situation, I will basically be striving towards my goals, somewhat carelessly, perhaps, but just I'll just jump for it, in order to dominate and take control of my spiritual emotions and such. My real goal, which is basically what I saw here, is to really turn myself into something more. It just, I want to completely recreate myself, transform myself into something more. And this path is the path I'm currently pursuing. This one is what would happen if I just stayed at home and went along with my financial business. I would be if I went home and went with massage, I would be very successful, and through my own determination and just with some effort, minimal effort, I could get and talent and such. I would gain full control of my financial needs, my whole personal material situation. I would be, I'd be living like a king. The emperor is always very in control of his material life. That would be a nice path to take. But I am not really going for material gain. I am going to continue on this path. If I continue following the higher influence that is currently guiding me down the path that I've chosen, a higher influence that I know very well is there, because I've just, everything just seems to be falling into place for this goal. If I continue going, things will get rough. Things will get really rough. Things only I can really see are just, it'll all seem okay, but it'll just, for me, it'll be really stressful, and just all around, just kind of, it'll be a difficult situation. But if I get through the hardships and continue on this, if I get through it all, this debauch, it could be referring to my diet, the situation, the issues I'll deal with in Peru. It'll be very dark. It could be referring to the what I'll have to face when the time comes to deal with this dark emotional issue that I have locked away. If I get through that and deal with it,